Welcome back. Every week we capture great performances on the high school gridiron and get to show them off on Varsity Sports Live Fridays at 10:30. But then the weekend comes and they get lost in the shuffle. So that's why every Wednesday our high school experts Jody and Jandy track down the top performances across the state and give them the credit they earned and honor the best of the best with a game ball. We'll send it up to our West Fargo studios now, where I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that Mr. Norstedt has done his homework once again. Jody, take it away.
You're giving me too much credit, but we could always use some help, so always feel free to send us some nominees on social media. All right, I'll reveal my game ball in a minute, but first, let's break down my top 10 performers listed alphabetically. We start with Century Junior running back Grant Anderson. The Patriots game at Red River got called in the third quarter due to lightning. You might as well call Grant Anderson lightning because he struck the end zone 3 times and showed off some lightning speed, rushing for 145 yards. Davies bounced back with a huge win at Minot. Junior Isaac Balvich carried the ball 21 times for nearly 200 yards and a trio of touchdowns. The Eagles needed him after NDSU commit Jaden Clabo went down with an MCL sprain. Clabo is expected to miss Friday's game, the outstanding tight end. Nathan Goldaddy cracked the list after spearheading the Cheyenne rushing attack with 130 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Hunter Hoffner, big part of that Mustangs' 325 rushing yard performance in the win over Legacy 2. Quarterback Michael Hall was a stat stuffer for Kindred, a TD pass, trio of rushing scores, and an interception on defense. Cavaliers' Jaden Laxdal combined for 4 touchdowns. Richland's offense continues to pile up points. Cole Myers had another big game, but I'm putting his target, Hunter Lentz, on the top performance list after hauling in 6 passes for 135 yards and 3 scores. Richland tangles with fellow unbeaten Thompson on Friday. Surrey's Colby Nelson was a workhorse with 245 rushing yards in the Mustangs' win over Divide County to move to 3-0. Drew Page had a monster game for unbeaten Carrington, piling up 250 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on just 13 carries. Rounding out the list is Adam Powell from Bowman County and Riley Reese of Killdeer, both those teams undefeated as well. But our game ball this week goes to a young man who rewrote the record books at Central Cass. Senior quarterback Jonah Leeds passed for 291 yards and combined for 5 touchdowns. In the process, he became the school's all-time leader in career passing yards. He has guided the Squirrels to a 2-0 start and a Class 2A best 89 points so far this season. Congrats to Jonah. Now let's go from rewind to look ahead, because there's a big tilt in West Fargo this week and we might see some history. West Fargo Cheyenne has a look of determination this week in practice, determined to get over the hump and finally beat West Fargo High for the first time in what would be the 5th try. If there's a year to do it, this might be it. The defending champion Packers have an inexperienced roster that hasn't built much confidence in losses to ranked foes Minot and Bismarck. Meanwhile, Cheyenne racked up 300 rushing yards in a win over Legacy last week and have directed all their attention to Friday's key contest.
This is a huge game. It's the first game in our EDC, and this, for us, these are playoff games for us, because if we can get a win, then that helps us out for the seeding in the playoffs time. So this is a huge game for us, just no matter who it is.
Whole summer long and fall. I mean, when it's Packer time, we know it. And I mean, when we're in the weight room, we're always talking about, let's go get the pack, stuff like that. And we know it's a big week.
I'm really comfortable with our team. Been around them for a while. I know what we're capable of, and we'll go show that Friday night.
I'm expecting a huge crowd Friday in West Fargo for this one. We'll bring you the highlights and reaction on Varsity Sports Live. Jandy, what's cooking in South Dakota?
Oh, I don't know what's cooking, but I do know what's on fire. And these players are some of those players on fire. Another compilation of greatness across South Dakota. How about Jaden Bourne stepping in? He got a start at running back for the first time in his career. 181 yards and a touchdown last Saturday. Or Jonathan Doden, he went crazy for Groton, getting 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. Then there's Trey King. He broke off some big runs against Chester. He produced 7 touchdowns in all, and he led his team to a huge win. He threw for 4, ran for 3 more. How does that not win the week? Who's making these decisions anyway? Well, maybe it's because Stevens went crazy as well in Spearfish. Tegan Heckel threw for 405 yards and 5 touchdowns. He found his teammate Bridger Nesbitt 6 times, 202 yards, and 4 scores. Huge week for the Raiders. By the way, you can watch those Stevens Raiders right here on MidcoSN coming up on Friday. There are more great performances to take a look at. You've got Bridger Nesbitt, which we mentioned. Zach Norton scored 4 touchdowns for O'Gorman. How about Eli Skoglund? 3 touchdowns, 100 yards rushing, 173 yards passing in their win over Corsica Stickney. The performances keep coming. So many great performances. But I'm going to be sending this ball right here, this game ball, to Stanley Haskins Jr. of Britton Hecla. You know why? Because Stan was the man. He needed only 15 rushes to gain 217 yards and score 4 times on the ground. He also chipped in 50 yards receiving. And to cap it off, how about this? He got a pick 6 for his team. Yes, he did it all over the field, both sides of the ball. The Braves stay unbeaten and stay number 1 in 9A. Congrats. You'll be getting this ball right here in the mail. There will be a few more players coming up on Saturday in a big game, the Dakota Bowl, who will be looking to get in the running for a game ball. The 40th annual Dakota Bowl is highlighted with number 2 O'Gorman hosting number 3 Washington. Head coach of O'Gorman, Jason Poppinga, is ready for the game.
10,000 people in the stands. I mean, that's not replicated anywhere else in South Dakota outside of a state championship game. So every year our kids get to play in that. Every year they circle it no matter who they're playing. And this year it's just extra special being in a Washington team that, the way the semifinals ended last year and the tradition they have had over the last, 4 years of winning state titles. It's a chance for our kids of an inexperienced squad that we have to kind of measure where we are at this point in the season.
Speaking of O'Gorman, they also have the number 3 ranked volleyball team in the state, and they hosted 5-1 Huron last night in their home gym. Look at this southpaw hit right there. Holly Nieheis gets one for the Tigers as they get off to a great start, but it was O'Gorman all night. They answer. You see Reagan Riley with the perfect set. Emma Ronsick puts it down with the hammer, and this was a familiar thing. This happened over and over. Same sequence right here. Once again, Riley to Ronsick for the slam, and you see the emotion from Coach Emily McCourt. She'd be fun to play for. And the Knights are getting a sweep on the night and stay in the top of the rankings. Let's hear from the Knights after their big win.
I mean, our whole team came together as a group tonight. We really spread our offense more than we have. So kudos to our setters for that, but also big props to our hitters tonight because we did a really, really good job of being spread and using all of our options and all being efficient.
Yeah, it was a good game all around, and Cresty Huron, they're a really good team, but we just played hard and never let up.
We just really wanted to focus on playing hard the entire game and not dropping any sets. This is our first sweep, so we're really excited about it, and it makes us happy. And Emily told us before the game that the only thing we had to work on was keeping our intensity the entire game, and I think we did that today.
So this O'Gorman team won't play another ranked opponent until September 18th. That's when they host Washington, who's number 2 in the state right now. I'm looking forward to that one already. That's the high school scene in South Dakota. Kelly, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Jandy. We'll stay right here. We are going to step away for a moment, but after the break, we'll hear from USD volleyball head coach Leanne Williamson. They had a big win over the Pac-12's Cal over the weekend. Hear all about it next.